That's right, everybody. Welcome back once again to another edition of the Best Seat in the House podcast. As always, I'm your host, Rob Kramer, joined by my co-host, the great Daniel Bobo Curlin, and we are in a celebrating mood. That's right, Cool and the gang, you can join the party right now because the New York Knicks are up 2-0 on the Boston Celtics to kick off the second round of the NBA playoffs. And that's where we're going to be starting, ladies and gentlemen. My co-host, Daniel Bobo Curlin. How you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing good. You know who else is happy? The Knicks are 2-0 going into Game 3. My mom. You know who else I want to wish? You know who I want to wish a happy Mother's Day to? My mom. Woo!
That's right. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, especially my mom and Bobo's mom, and hope everybody's mom is having a great weekend already. And we know if they're Knicks fans, they're definitely having a great weekend. As man, there is no better place to start right now than the two grittiest playoff victories we've seen from this franchise in about 30 years, or damn near close to it, at least the last 25. I can't even look back at the Knicks stringing together these many clutch playoff victories than they've done over the last couple of days, especially a franchise record now, 5 consecutive road wins on the playoffs. This is bringing me back to shades of 1999, beating the Miami Heat and Larry Johnson 4-point play. It's making me nostalgic, Dan. This team is bringing me back, and the way they've done it is just mind-boggling. What this team has done the last 2 days, or I'm sorry, the last 2 games at least, the first 2 of the second round, both games being in Boston too, where the Knicks had to erase a 20-point deficit both games. And, you know, the games for the most part started off pretty well. By the time it was getting close to halftime, the Celtics started to pull away a little bit. In the third quarter, the Celtics blew the Knicks away in both games. And then in the late third quarter and the entire fourth quarter, the Knicks would chip away and chip away and chip away. And before you know it, Dan, what was surely at least 1-1, probably in most people's books, a 2-0 Celtics series lead coming out of these first 2 games, where, by the way, also, Game 1, the Celtics had a 98.3% chance at their highest point of winning that game, according to ESPN stats. And then in Game 2, it was 99.1. Dan, when you're watching these 2 beautiful comeback wins, as a lifelong Knicks fan, how much did you enjoy that?
I enjoyed it. I just had a feeling that, oh my God, this team's not going to make this easy on me. There's going to be some near heart attacks. Medics are going to be on standby.
The medics definitely were on standby, man, but it was not for us Knicks fans, although we probably needed it. It was for the gasping for air and losing their cool Celtics fans, and the Celtics teams, that is too, by the way. And I think Paul Pierce probably just got done walking those 4 miles he was talking about. If you're not familiar, Paul Pierce ran his mouth a little bit and said if the Celtics lost this game, he'd walk 4 miles. Well, he ended up having to do that walk because the Celtics did, in fact, drop this game. Now, the Celtics went out there in Game 1 and missed a NBA playoff record 45 3-pointers, man. Just absolutely ridiculously inefficient from the 3-point line, and were not able to get it done. As a matter of fact, their shooting overall wasn't very good, but especially from the 3, it killed them. And that same problem followed them right to Game 2, where they continued to put up bad 3 after bad 3, and they just gave the Knicks chance after chance after chance. I mean, that's the one thing that would drive me crazy watching the Knicks, when I would see them give up offensive opportunities. But the Celtics did it even more than the Knicks did, especially late in the game, and gave the Knicks every opportunity to pull this away. I mean, it's really just stunning, Dan. This is the defending NBA champion, Boston Celtics. And, right now I think we're kind of getting a little bit of a break here, as whatever is going on with Kristaps Porzingis, I don't even know. He's suffering from some sort of illness, and some kind of viral condition that he's dealing with. And he only played 12 minutes in game 1 and didn't have any points. And then he only played 13 minutes in game 2 and had 8 points. So a really confounding begin to this playoff series for not only the Celtics but Porzingis. But what do you think, Dan? Up 2-0. What's your outlook on this series? What do you think of Porzingis, and who do you think has been the best, the most valuable Knicks player so far?
Yeah, I just feel like so far, I just feel like Karl Anthony Townsend has just had so many big moments. Him, and then also you got to give a lot of credit to Jalen Brunson, who's really stepping up big time. Who's just he is more and more. The more further the Knicks advance, the more success he has in this playoffs, the more closer he's going to be reaching to never having to pay for a drink in this town ever again.
Yeah, man. And there's a lot of guys on that list right now. As a matter of fact, we mentioned, the Knicks erasing the 20-point deficit in back-to-back playoff games. The Knicks hadn't won a playoff game when they were down by 20 since 1996. So it had been pretty much 30 years, 29 years, since the Knicks had even done that once. And now they've done it in back-to-back games against Boston. So that's pretty crazy. And even crazier, Dan, is that the Knicks are the only team in the last 25 years to trail by 20 in back-to-back road games and win both. And that counts the regular season or the playoffs. So that's just another crazy stat just to show that, yeah, we see 20-point leads get blown in the NBA and stuff like that. We've seen that type of stuff before. But what the Knicks have done the last 2 days is definitely special. No doubt about it. You have to give them all the credit in the world for that. And a couple of guys also, too. You mentioned Karl Anthony Towns. Got to give him his credit yesterday. Comes out with 21 points and 18 rebounds. Really set the tone early in that game. Got shut down in the second half until late when he finally hit a couple of free throws. Hey, Towns played his ass off, and they've been bullying him a little bit. They've been going at him hard. So Towns has responded well, played a very good game the other night. Obviously, you mentioned Jalen Brunson, whose playoff run has just continued to be great, as the guy went out there and tied Bernard King's franchise record for 40-point games ever in the playoffs with 7. And now Brunson has tied that as well. But a couple of guys I do want to shine the light on real quick, Dan, is obviously Mikal Bridges. This is a guy who Knick fans have had their moments with this year. He's kind of gotten on our nerves at times. There were high expectations because you gave up 4 first-round picks for this freaking guy. So you had to get something out of him. And, man, his defense in this series has been phenomenal. We'll get to that in a second and how it impacted the end of the game. But we have to give Mikal Bridges credit for the offensive explosion he had in the fourth quarter. This guy didn't have a point in this game through three quarters. He was, involved in the game. He was getting rebounds. He had a couple of assists, playing good defense, but had not registered a point, and then blew up the fourth quarter with 14 points. The guy was just incredible. He was knocking down shots left and right exactly when the Knicks needed him. It actually even prolonged because Bridges was with the second unit out there, and it even prolonged Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson coming back in the game before they could get the second unit out of there. So it just goes to show how good Bridges was doing. And man, once again, for the second game in a row, he goes out there and gets a steal and is all in Tatum's face at the end of the game. You just got to give Bridges all the credit in the world. He's come a long way since playing for the god-awful New Jersey/Brooklyn Nets. And now he's leading the Knicks to playoff wins over the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, that is just impressive right there. We're seeing this, and I just got to give credit to that for helping also keep some of our top guy, keeping our top guy from wearing out in the second half. which has been one of the
Yeah.
big things that have been tough on us to keep us from wearing down the second half. That's something is setting up a recipe for a win.
Yeah, man, it's true. And not only was the second unit and the bench and everything contributing in this game, Mitchell Robinson, man, has become a big sticking point in this series. Now, everybody likes Mitch for the most part. He's probably, if not the Knicks' best defensive player, he's right there. Next to OG, probably it's probably him and OG. That's not even counting the great stuff we saw out of Bridges. But I would still put OG and Mitchell Robinson ahead of him if we're going to be ranking the defensive players on this team. But Mitchell Robinson, man, he's really in the Boston Celtics head right now. And he was, if you look at all the players, every Knicks starter in this game had a minus next to his name after this game. His plus minus for the game, meaning the amount of points we scored as opposed to the amount of points they scored. They scored a lot more points when our starters were on the floor. Not so much Mitchell Robinson. And Joe Mazzulla, the head coach of the Boston Celtics, very astutely pointed this out. Mitchell Robinson was plus 19. And sure, he gets frustrating when they start doing hack-a-Mitch and they're fouling him every chance they get, and they send him to the line. And like the other night, he was 3 for 10 when he first started off on free throws. Not very good, very frustrating if you're a Knicks fan. But the guy is a key player on this team, and we felt his absence for much of this season. Thanks to Joel Embiid, this guy ended up missing basically almost a full calendar year of basketball, and he's back, and he's making a big difference, Dan, and you got to give credit to Mitch for that.
Yeah, I just got to give credit to Mitchell Robinson for that. He's just back, and he's at full force. He's back, better than ever.
Exactly. So, hey, you got to give all the credit to him, and like you said, he's back, and hey, better than ever. You're right about that. And now, Dan, our attention shifts being up 2-0 to Madison Square Garden. And that's where Game 3 is going to be kicking off 3:30 p.m. this Saturday afternoon at Madison Square Garden. Now, what you can't do here is, A, get cocky. These are the defending champs. They've been here before. They know what to do when their back's against the wall. And you just, if I was the Knicks, don't poke the bear. Don't start flexing your muscles. I really liked what I heard out of Karl-Anthony Towns yesterday after the game. Reporters were trying to bait him into getting some, bulletin board material, basically. He didn't take the bait. And he said, so what does it mean to be up 2-0? And his response was, well, it means we're up 2-0. It doesn't mean anything. We haven't won the series. We're only up 2-0. And he knows very well the dangers of what can happen if you rest on your laurels after you're up 2-0. As last year, he even pointed out when he was with Minnesota, they won the first 2 games in Denver and then went home to Minnesota, lost the next 2 games. So you end up going back to Denver 2-2. Now, they ended up winning that series, but still, you don't want to make it harder on yourself, and you don't want to lose these home games when you know you've got to be better than you even were in Boston. So I'm glad he knows that. I'm glad he has that experience too, because the one thing we can take from this Knicks team, Dan, is that they're all very experienced. For the most part, a bunch of these guys have gone on playoff runs with the Knicks the last couple of years. And then obviously Karl-Anthony Towns played into the Western Conference Final last year. So this is a team that knows what their job is. And, they know exactly what they have to do here. You cannot sit here and get cocky being up 2-0 because 2-0 essentially means nothing.
Yeah, exactly. They're just right now trying to win this thing. They've been through this so many times that they're just seem to be laser focused on trying to win this whole thing.
Yeah, man.
And it's just looking like this. They've had too many letdowns of a season, and they feel like this season they want to finally seal the deal.
Seems that way. This team seems pretty driven right now. And I feel like there was a lot of me that felt like, it's almost like it reminds me of back when the Rangers would be going, especially when Tortorella was the head coach. And it seemed like every series was a 7-game series, and it would take everything to get out of that round. And then the team would be beat up going into the next round. So coming out of that Detroit series, I kind of felt like maybe the Knicks let that series go on for a little too long. They played down to their competition a little bit. Maybe they allowed the Pistons to beat them up a little too much. But I got to say, Dan, actually, I think I was completely wrong. I think that playoff series just got the Knicks into playoff mode. You know what I mean? I feel like the Knicks are battle-tested now, and the fact that Boston got through the Magic very easily for the most part, I feel like Boston didn't really have to dig deep down to win that. You know what I mean? But the Knicks had to dig deep down, and that's translating over into the second round. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I just feel like they just want to go out there and win this. They just don't want to be a doormat this time going in. They've done this too many times. They burnt out in the fourth quarter against the Celtics. This time they kind of have figured out that they are aware they are capable of winning these games against a tough opponent like the Celtics, and they're not taking it for granted. And they got all the pieces right now that finally are back and healthy to hopefully keep this team from burning on the fourth. And it showed, right? It showed the last two games. They were able to not only get through the fourth, they were able to somehow muster out that win in overtime game one, then somehow come from behind and stay in the game the entire time in game two and pull off the win and take advantage of the fact that they were still in the game.
Yeah, it's true, man. And you got to give them credit for that. And they were able to keep their wits about them. And one reason for that is their head coach, man. And I want to give a lot of credit to Tom Thibodeau, because Tom Thibodeau is a guy that gets shit on a lot by Knicks fans. And I don't know why, because he's definitely the best head coach we've had probably since Van Gundy. So, you're never going to see me taking too many shots at Tibbs. But I want to give him a lot of credit, because in the final minute of this game, with the game hanging in the balance, and every decision that you make matters, Tibbs kept Mitchell Robinson in for an extra play, knowing that they were going to foul them, but they had a foul to give. So you allow them to commit that foul on Mitch. Mitch comes out of the game. He replaces him with OG. So now you have the Celtics where they're in the plus. So every time you get fouled now, you're going to shoot. So that was a brilliant move, baiting the Boston Celtics into committing that last foul against Mitch to put them in the plus. And really, man, just really showed the coaching prowess of Thibodeau, and especially in the final minutes of that game, in game one and game two, but especially game two is what I'm focusing on here. Tom Thibodeau outcoached NBA champion Joe Mazzulla.
Yeah, exactly. That just shows right there that they were able to step up to the challenge, and by the looks of it, they were not phased. Even with the whole time the regular season losing to them, they were still not phased. They were like carrying into some momentum that we're going to beat these guys one of these days. And I feel like it's showing in beating them when it counted.
Exactly. So, shout out to the Knicks. Shout out to Coach Tibbs. Shout out to all the boys on the roster that are just playing their asses off right now. And 2-0 coming home to Madison Square Garden, Dan. That sounds pretty freaking good to me. Can't wait for Saturday afternoon. And man, it's beyond sight for this Knicks run right now. Now, usually this time of year too, we're talking about the Rangers and a good Ranger run. They've been to the conference finals 2 out of the last 3 years coming into this season. So it's 2 out of the last 4 years now they've still been in the conference finals 2 times under Chris Drury, their head coach. But today, maybe they took their first step into their next trip to the Eastern Conference Final, and that is with the hiring of former Pittsburgh Penguins 2-time Stanley Cup champion head coach, and that is Mike Sullivan, formerly a assistant coach under the New York Rangers, formerly the head coach for the Boston Bruins. This is a guy that's been around. He's a lifelong hockey guy. Bringing him in, Dan. I can't say enough good things about Mike Sullivan. Real quick, what are your thoughts on him?
I'm pumped for next season. I just feel like this guy. I feel like he's got the ability to not lose his team. I feel like, and
we've seen many coaches lose this team, right?
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully, it's a situation where we don't have to replace their coach every other year. How many times have we had to do this the last couple of years with the Rangers? Replace the coach every other year.
Yeah, man. I mean, we've seen them. Yeah,
it's like we finally need a coach that can finally stick around a long time and build a consistent winner.
Exactly.
I feel that's the key to getting us that eventual championship. And I feel if the right moves, that could potentially happen next year for once, and not having to be the ones coming so close, actually being the ones that actually got there and did it.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Now, real quick, let's take a look.
Everyone, and thank you for joining us today, and welcome. Certainly a very exciting day for the entire New York Rangers organization and all our fans, and a great day for Mike and Kate Sullivan and all their extended family in Massachusetts. As I said in last week's press release, I truly believe Mike's a premier coach in the National Hockey League. His resume, both in the NHL and international play, speaks for itself. The second Mike was available, we quickly and aggressively pursued him, and we're certainly thrilled that pursuit led us to this moment today. There's a lot of work to be done, and I'm very excited to be partnering with Mike as we collectively try to achieve our goals here in New York. With that said, Mike, it's my honor to welcome, congratulate, and introduce the New York Rangers head coach, Mike Sullivan.
Just want to hear a second out of Mike Sullivan, and then we'll get back, but here he is.
Welcome, everyone. Just wanted to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Dolan and Chris, first and foremost, for giving me this opportunity to be the head coach of such a storied franchise.
So Mike Sullivan is going to be taking over for the Rangers in their 100th season now. He went on to talk about how the Rangers have good character in their locker room, and he went on to talk about how they don't necessarily have to name a captain, but they're going to discuss it. What do you think, Dan? Do you think that they're going to name a captain after this summer, or do you think that they're just going to stick with that same leadership group and not necessarily anybody wearing the C?
I feel like they're probably going to name a captain during the off season. Maybe it'll be over time, maybe the next season, but I feel like that's eventually bound to happen. I also feel like that Mike Sullivan probably has the ability to get the most out of these guys, and finally understand not to underuse the talent we have on this team.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to have the same mentality from GM to head coach to the players. And it seemed like, as much as I like and respect Peter Laviolette, it seemed like the middle part there wasn't really getting the job done. And shout out to PhD 42586. I think the Rangers are totally cool, you guys. And so do we. We think the Rangers are totally cool as well. So thanks, buddy. And also to our buddy Mets vibes over here, we'll be getting to the Mets in a minute. So just hold tight. And yeah.
But yeah, I'm just hoping that this guy will finally be the coach, linked to that moment that ends up leading to us maybe hopefully finding a way to maybe borrow the Stanley Cup for a couple of seconds after the Rangers win it. Maybe, maybe we drink beer out of a they show us on the show drinking beer out of the Stanley Cup.
Exactly. Pour a couple of Stellas in there with our old buddy Matt Iceman, right?
Yeah, yep. That'd be something all of a sudden. So somehow of whole thing, it works out really well that Matt happens to be in town and we're just we're just drinking beers out. We're just drinking beers out of the cup. Yeah, exactly. Hopefully that happens with this team.
Exactly. So the Rangers are heading in the right direction. Good luck to them. And unfortunately for us Ranger fans, there's another story in hockey we got to check out real quick before we head over to the baseball to round things out here, Dan, is that our crosstown rivals, the New York Islanders, have landed the number 1 overall pick in the NHL Draft, the first time since 2009 when they selected John Tavares, number 1 overall. So, hey, I mean, that's a good break for the Islanders. If I was an Islander fan, I don't know if I would be excited, but I mean, they just fired Lou Lamoriello. Like, if the Islanders had Lou Lamoriello making the number 1 overall pick, I know, look, it's really going to be really tough to screw it up. Although, hey, the New York Rangers had the number 1 overall pick in 2020. We selected Alexis Lafreniere, and at times he's looked like that guy, but he's definitely not a Tavares or in Austin Matthews or one of these slam dunk number 1 guys we've seen. Although, he's still pretty young, so he could still round into that eventually. But, who knows what the Islanders are looking at right now. Now, I know there's a defenseman that is rumored to be number 1 overall. They also have a really good center, and this kid, Michael Miso, that could go. So really interesting to see which way the Islanders are going to go with this, Dan, but I'm very happy that no matter who they pick, Lou Lamoriello will not be picking that guy.
Yeah, exactly. So I just have a feeling it could be a disaster. It might not be something so much for our Islander fans to celebrate. Also,
no matter what, though, Dan, you can't say winning the number 1 overall pick is going to be a disaster. You can't say that.
yeah, that's true. But I just feel horrible. Like I felt horrible when we won that one game in a blowout against the Isles. That I just feel like, oh, maybe we should have just tanked this one. I feel like what the fuck? Like I knew like we weren't making it.
Yeah.
At that point, that I was like, what the fuck? Just lose this one. We needed. I felt like we needed one more loss to get that number 1 pick.
Well, it's funny you say that, Dan. It's actually really funny. And I don't know if you knew this, but I actually was listening to them break down because they did the NHL draft this year in a really strange way where they assigned it wasn't just ping pong balls with team logos on it like it usually is. They assigned all these numbers, 4 different numbers to each team, and the numbers were based on certain things that happened during the regular season. And one of the reasons that actually the way somebody laid it out was if the Islanders had beaten the Rangers once in regulation this year, the Rangers went 4-0 against them. First time they've done that since 03-04. So 20 years Rangers swept the season series. If the Rangers had lost one of those games to the Islanders in regulation, then the Islanders would have been picking 12th, and the Rangers would have had the number 1 overall pick. So you are 100% right. If it's not even guessing, oh, maybe this, maybe that. No, it's an actual fact. If the Rangers had lost in regulation once to the Islanders this year, we'd have the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, exactly. I kept saying it. I kept saying that, and that's exactly what happened. And I was like, and part of me also kind of wonders if this is rigged because the commissioner decided to cancel the All-Star game this year.
I was kind of thinking the same thing. I was kind of thinking the exact same thing. Because if you're not familiar now, the Islanders were supposed to have the All-Star game at USB next year. But that actually got canceled because now the NHL has bought into the Olympics again. So they're going to be sending all their players to the Olympics. So there's not going to be an All-Star break. There's going to be an Olympic break. So the All-Star game was going to take place at UBS Arena, and that's not happening anymore. Now they're going to have some kind of kickoff event, they said there, but whatever it is, it's going to pale in comparison to an All-Star weekend there. So it's funny you thought that, because it's exactly kind of what I thought too.
Yeah, exactly. It would have been more interesting to see like the skills competition in the All-Star game. I might have tried to look up tickets on TickPick to go. I would have even taken interest in it if they decided to host a Four Nations tournament. I would have definitely wanted to have attended that.
No doubt about it, man. That would have been very cool. That Four Nations tournament was very exciting this year that they had.
Yeah, exactly. I hope they bring that back next 2 years from now or something like that.
I heard them saying that they're gonna have, it might not just be, it's gonna be like the Four Nations, but it'll be more like a World Cup like they used to do. And that's probably because I think they're hoping once whatever this, Russia and Ukraine stuff gets settled, which it looks like at least hopefully that war is starting to wind down, then they can reintegrate Russia back into, the international competition. So they're going to do a World Cup. They'll have Russia involved. They'll have Czechoslovakia, the Czech Republic, and I'm sure a few other teams that weren't involved in the Four Nations face-off as well. So that'll be interesting to see how that pans out. But it looks like they're doing a World Cup.
Yeah, and I heard they're trying to fit that into like a 2-week break or something like that.
Yeah, about that. Yeah, I heard that too.
Yeah,
so.
If they did that, only if they could do, and if they do that, I highly recommend they just they hold one of the games in the Garden.
I'd love to see that too. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'd love to see it too.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
All right,
I would love to see that. I would try to get tickets to that. Definitely.
Me too. And with that, Dan, let's now shift our attention to some baseball as we round things out here in the second half of the show. Let's get into some Mets talk right now. And things are pretty good in Mets country right now, Dan. Mets coming off a big 7-1 victory in Arizona on getaway day yesterday. Mets have off today, so nice day for them to travel back to the New York area and enjoy their flight home. Mets improved to 24-14, dropped the D-backs to 19-18. But you know what the bigger thing is too, Dan, is that if you flash back to last year, the Mets had a big series in Arizona at the end of August where they went on to take 2 out of 3 and clinch the season series from the Diamondbacks 4-2. That would come into play later on, about a month later, with the wild card standings where the Mets and Diamondbacks finished with the same record. But because the Mets won the season series, we got the tiebreaker and knocked the Diamondbacks out of the playoffs, and we went on. The good thing is we know the Diamondbacks are going to be a good team. They're going to be in the mix all year. Even if they don't make it, they're going to be a tough team to beat, and they'll be in there at the end, at least close to it. I think we all feel like. But with this win yesterday, that provides a season split for the year. So the Mets go 3-3 against the Diamondbacks, so they don't have to worry about it coming down to, we lost the season series against the Diamondbacks, so we're screwed with any tiebreakers. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Let's hope the Mets win the NL East. But if you have to worry about, tiebreakers and stuff like that, at least it's the Diamondbacks don't have that over us right now,
Yeah, exactly. I think the tiebreaker is runs against, and I forgot if the Mets have that tiebreaker.
Well, I guess, we'd find out at the end of the year. But right now, since the Mets have the best pitching in baseball, actually, by far, surprisingly, they've allowed the least home runs, they've allowed the least runs. I guess the Mets would have that tiebreaker as of this moment, at least.
Yeah, exactly. So that might play into our favor. And the only thing that I'm getting nervous is that the pitchers showing more length out of our starting pitching. And so far, I feel like we saw that, a rarity. A guy pitched more than 5 innings. Singa pitched 6. We got 6 innings out of Singa, and that was just a big uplifting thing. I feel like less for a bullpen we had to use yesterday.
Yeah, you're right about that, man. Kodai Senga went out there, and it didn't really look like it was going to end this way, too. If you see on that stat line there, 5 walks. A lot of those came early. And, Senga is just one of those pitchers where sometimes out of the gate, it takes him a little while to find it. But, man, once he finds it, he was putting those guys down left and right and finished 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, no runs, 5 walks, 4 Ks, and got the win. So he's 4-2 now. Got to give credit to Kodai. He has been fantastic this year with a 1.16 ERA, the 4th best, ERA all time this deep into the season for the Mets.
Yeah, I just have to give credit, and I feel like he's going to be even better as the season goes along. I feel like this whole season, I feel like so far he's been kind of like shaking off the dust after going almost a year without pitching and pitching multiple innings, I feel like.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. And shout out to our buddy over there, LFGM. You got that right. Tell our Met fans in the chat right now. Definitely, Met fans are feeling pretty good right now, and we should, man. We should. This team is a very good team, very fun team to watch. And, the other thing that really helped us out was it looks like Juan Soto is starting to wake up from his early season slumber. He now hit 2 home runs in a game for the second time in a week against the Diamondbacks. He's got 7 for the season now. And, people can minimize the home runs when you look at it and say, oh, well, it's a 7-1 game. Well, let's look at it. Merrill Kelly was cruising in a 0-0 game when Soto broke it up in the 6th inning. And that, that's a clutch home run, in my opinion. A no-score game where it's getting to the middle innings now, and, you're starting to buckle down and you realize it's getting a crunch time. Soto went out there and jacked a home run, and then in a 3-0 game, put another one out there opposite field to make it a 4-0 game. So I give Soto credit, all the credit in the world for those home runs, because he definitely deserves it, and he's been phenomenal this year for this team. Especially over the last week or 2.
Yeah, exactly. I just feel like Soto has some big moments that are yet to come that are going to happen, and I feel like he's finally turning around. I feel like the first couple of weeks he's getting that adjustment to playing for the Mets. I feel like, and I feel like he's finally gotten. I feel like he was able to get going. I really feel like also another person I had to give credit to probably who helped them with that adjustment a little bit. Maybe Francisco Lindor, because he's been through that his first year with the Mets. It took him a while to get going, and once he got going. And I feel like he's maybe helping pass that on to Soto about this, like just really telling him that this could happen, that this is going to happen, to try somehow get him to not lose his cool during that whole during that whole point of the season. And it's showing right now.
Yeah, you're right. Luckily, that's definitely showing, and we see how good of a player Soto is, even though even when he wasn't hitting at all. I mean, the guy's still getting on base. He's still doing things. He threw a runner out home the other day. So Soto is, he's been a plus on this team, no matter what. Real quick, want to give a shout out to another person watching right now, Lee Slater. Thanks for hanging out with us. Let's go Mets. You got that right. No doubt about it. And also Mr. Smarty Pants checking in here, Dan, saying, hey, Bobo.
How you doing, Mr. Smarty Pants? Whoever the heck
there
you
are. Well, he's Mr. Smarty Pants. So there you go. A little shout out to him there.
Yeah, exactly. It's just so many people. I don't know always know who they are. Some of them I know who they are. Some of them I don't. But either way, a big shout out to you.
Exactly. He's hanging out with us here on Thursday night, so he's pretty cool in my book. Let's keep it rolling along here, Dan, right now. Another guy I want to give a tip of the cap to is our buddy Griffin Canning, a guy that me and you were not too thrilled that he ended up in the starting rotation this year, and understandably so. I mean, statistically speaking, he was one of the worst pitchers in baseball last year. But it's starting to feel a lot like Luis Severino from the prior year, where, on the face, we didn't really think much of when the Mets signed Luis Severino. But then you saw the work the Mets put in with the guy, and you saw the new strategy they start to tell the guy, like with Griffin Canning specifically. They have him using his slider more than he's ever used in his career. And he's dotting the fastball when he needs to, but he's leaning heavily on that slider. And it's really working out. And I think, even though for all intents and purposes, he's a 5-inning pitcher, and we've seen that for the month plus he's been in the rotation now, that he starts to peter out on or around the 5th inning, especially a little bit deeper than that. But you can't argue with results. And right now, whether there's some luck involved in it too, sure, but Griffin Canning has won 5 straight starts. The last time any Met starting pitcher did that was Zach Wheeler back in 2018. So remember all those great years we got out of Jacob deGrom when he was winning the Cy Youngs, and he had that great start in 2021 and had a 1.08 ERA. All that greatness from Jacob deGrom, the guy never won 5 straight starts during that time period. And no Met pitcher did, except for Zach Wheeler, 6 years ago at this point, 7 years ago at this point. So very interesting. And, you got to give Griffin Canning his due, because the guy's going out there and pitching good ball. And even though it's only for 5 innings most of the time, he's getting the job done.
Yeah, exactly. And I hope he can keep this up and maybe hopefully be able to stretch it out and throw more innings a game, and hopefully not burn out from throwing out this many innings when it comes down to the stretch run. That's going to be a big telling of how well Griffin Canning worked out, is being able to handle throwing this many innings. Yeah,
that's true. That's true. You got to really keep an eye on that. And hey, maybe the fact that he's throwing 5 innings at a time is going to be, a positive later on in the season when his inning count isn't that high. And we'll have to see what happens too, because the Mets still have Sean Manaea coming back, and at some point Frankie Montas. So they're going to have to juggle up the rotation at some point. But early results, all positive from Griffin Canning. Have nothing negative to say about the kid. Now, one more thing before we touch on some injuries that are really going to impact the Mets going forward in the recent and in the short and long term. I do want to give some shout out to another guy that deserves it, Luis Angel Acuna, Dan. This guy, in my opinion, has gone out there and has won the second base job. He's a threat every time he gets on base to steal. He plays very, very good defense. And, I don't want to take a shot at Jeff McNeil. He's getting a little bit older. He's had a couple of injuries and everything. I prefer McNeil in the outfield at this point. And I really, really love seeing Acuna play second base. The athleticism shows every time he's on the field, and his bat is pretty good too at this point. So, in my opinion, Acuna should be second baseman going forward. What do you think?
Yeah, I really feel like the same thing, that Acuna needs to be the second baseman going forward the rest of the way.
Yeah, he's just overall impressed you, right?
Yeah, he's just been overall impressed. I feel like I feel like they need to stick him in the lineup more often. Let this guy get going, because he just has so many potential that it's wasting being a part-time player.
Yeah, it's true. And it's a waste putting him back in the minor leagues too. So I hope they don't think about doing that at some point as well, because, Acuna being here has been a big plus defensively and offensively. So really happy with what he's given us so far. Now, a couple of the bad things we got to talk about here, a couple of these injuries that we're going to be dealing with. These two we're going to be dealing with all year, as the Mets, free agent relief pitcher who we all really loved. See, this guy I so enjoyed watching AJ Minter pitch for the Mets the first month of the year. He was so good. He was money when you needed him to be money. He came in and he got the lefties out. He could get righties out. It just is such a shame that a lat injury. Now, you see Danny Young. He's having Tommy John surgery. That sucks. But, look, we see that all the time, especially in young pitchers. So that sucks. Hopefully Danny Young is able to come back quickly from that. But he's gone for the rest of this year and probably a good portion of next year too. AJ Minter, it's a lat injury, and those things just are these lats are so tough to come back from. And, it shouldn't affect him next year like Danny Young will. But AJ Minter is going to miss the rest of the year because of this, Dan, and it just really, really sucks.
Yeah, I know. It just sucks. It always freaking happens to this team. It makes me wonder how much bullpen we have, especially the middle innings going into the season. And I feel like it's more and more emphasized that we need our starters to go more than 5 innings.
Yeah, and we got guys that can go multiple innings, which does help. We see Max Kranick, although Kranick has been very good this year, but he's looked a little bit more human the last couple of appearances. So he's been allowing a run every once in a while. And then Brasban, too. I'm very impressed with what we've seen out of Brasban. What do you think about those guys?
Yeah, I've been impressed by them. The only thing I question is overuse of the bullpen. That's a part that's getting me nervous with this staff, and why I keep pushing to get a number one starter, however way they can get that possible. Because I just feel like that's going to be the key thing is how much is trying to avoid overuse of the bullpen. It's especially going to show down the stretch run.
No doubt about it. The Mets are going to need probably a starting pitcher, in my opinion, to pick up at the deadline. And then, and I'm not just saying like a throwaway bullpen arm, a guy you don't really – I think the Mets are going to need a high-leverage bullpen arm at some point. And I don't know who it's going to be, but it should probably be a lefty, and it should probably be a late-inning guy. So, who knows what's going on with the Red Sox right now, but I got my eye on Aroldis Chapman. But who knows? So we'll have to see what goes on with that. Yeah. We saying that?
Yep, exactly. And I feel like that's going to be easy to get, and they're not going to have to give up much for that as it gets closer to the trade deadline, I feel like.
Well, that depends, because relief pitchers, the price really goes up when the teams start bidding on it. So I feel like the only way the Mets could get it relatively easily if they do it early. But hey, the Red Sox are still going to be in it for the most part early, and it'll be tough to convince them to move on from their closer. So either way, I'm sure there will be a deal to be made eventually, but the timing has to be right.
Yeah, exactly. I trust that David Stearns is going to make that timing right. If a deal like that is going to materialize, he's going to find that, and it's not going to. I feel like he knows not to sit around this time during the off season. There needs to be like a big splash. They need to go all in on it. It can't be half-assed, especially with that tough competition looming down the playoffs. And I feel like you don't want to be burnt out when you're facing a tough opponent like the Dodgers.
No, you're right, man. You're definitely right about that. And the other thing Mets are going to really need to look at, too, is we were just talking about the pitching. They're really going to have to focus on DH, too. And it's going to really determine how the Mets handle that based off how Starlin Marte performs over the next couple of weeks. Because now we know that Jesse Winker, unfortunately, the fiery guy that Met fans have grown to love, after hating him for a couple of years, we've grown to love him for the last year or so, a little bit less than a year at this point. But now he has suffered an oblique strain, which I hate the oblique muscle more than any other muscle in the body. And it seems to always pop up and screw us up. But the Jesse Winker injury now is going to put him on the IL for a good 6 to 8 weeks. So, at this point, we're talking about not getting Jesse Winker back to maybe late June or July. So it's going to be damn near the All-Star break by the time we see Jesse Winker again.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing I feel like they need to do, maybe consider it DH, because maybe he might have a little bit quicker bat. Because I feel like Marte gets some hits in, but I'm starting to see it a little bit that he's kind of slower, and I feel like some injuries have worn out on him. I feel like they need to find a way to get Brett Beatty in as many games as possible. Maybe have him DH a couple of games. I feel like
Yeah, I mean, but that can only be for a couple of games. You can't sit here and if Brett Beatty's not hitting for the next week and he's going 0 for 3, 0 for 4, 0 for 3, you can't keep running him out there. So he's going to either have to prove himself quickly or I'm done with Brett Beatty. Just send him back to the minor leagues.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like they right now maybe he's at the point that maybe they need to get him in a couple of games because he looked like today was his like first real game. Yesterday was his first like real game back since he got called up, and he seemed to had a pretty decent game. I feel like maybe they need to just give him a shot early on and then maybe send him back down or whatever if he isn't panning out. But I feel like they need to give him a shot. I feel like he was starting to get going before they sent him down. That I kind of questioned if it was a good idea to send him down because I feel like he was getting going. And it looked like when they sent him down, he felt demoralized from it. And now that he's finally back, it looks like he's just finally I feel like he's built up his confidence and is trying to run with the shot, I feel like.
I hope so because it doesn't say much about him if he got demoralized by getting sent down. Because we saw the same thing happen to Mark Vientos last year after the guy hit a walk-off home run. So, you have to be mentally tough with this stuff. Sometimes the team doesn't really have an easy decision to make. And look, we see as soon as the next opportunity presented itself, they brought Beatty right back up. So I do see what you're saying, and there's definitely a lot of merit to that. But for Beatty's sake, I hope it's not true because that doesn't say much about him and his toughness and his mentality. But last thing, Dan, on the Mets before we finish up with the Yankees here to round out the show. The Mets now come home for a weekend series against the Chicago Cubs, taking on Jameson Taillon, who, by the way, has one of the lowest active starting pitcher ERAs against the Mets, under 1. He's dominated the Mets in the innings he's pitched against them so far. He's taken his 2-1 record, the 3.86 ERA to Citi Field to take on Clay Holmes, who's 4-1 with a 2.95 ERA. Friday night, 7:10 p.m. So hey, the Cubs have a good team. They added Kyle Tucker. They lost Bellinger to the Yankees and everything, but this is still a very good team. They have Dansby Swanson in this team. They have Kyle Tucker. Obviously, Jameson Taillon's a very good pitcher. So this team has pieces. So the Mets can't take them lightly, and the Cubs are, one of the teams that are shooting for a postseason appearance.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the Mets are gonna find a way to stay in this game, and I feel like they need to get a couple of key hits. These games I feel like are gonna be very low scoring, and I feel like the Mets need to take advantage of that if they keeping the opponent scoreless. They need to take advantage of that, and if they could do that, they got a shot to win this. To at least take 2 out of 3.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. So big series against the Cubs this weekend. Yeah.
Also, a little word of advice for Sunday's game. When you watch Sunday's game, you're gonna need a few things potentially to watch this game. Either a Roku device, or if you do have a MLB.TV subscription, when you're using a thing via this. By the way, it's that you use a promo via that T-Mobile promo you got for free. You can access the game that way. Also, I noticed this is also going to be a less annoying nationally broadcasted game because did you hear this? They announced who's going to be calling this game. One of the is going to be a familiar voice we hear all the time, Gary Cohen.
Oh, it is Gary Cohen.
Yeah. Gary, I forgot who the other 2 guys are. I think the other guy is Joe Girardi, and the other one's an Ashley Broadcasting announcer. I don't know who the other announcer is going to be. Because the other guy is going to be in a 3-man booth for this game. But I saw that one of those that Gary Cohen's going to be in the booth. I feel like they're doing this similar to how remember that Peacock deal, how they brought in 2 guys that just did that one game. I feel like that's what they did for this game. And it turns out Mets dignitary they brought in. They brought in the A game. They brought in they didn't half-ass it. They made it. It probably is going to be way. It just increased the quality of a nationally broadcasted game, just for the fact they brought in Gary Cohen for that one.
Very cool. Gary Cohen, one of the best announcers around, no doubt about it. So at least we'll have that on Sunday. And all right, Dan, last thing here. Let's get out of here talking a little Yankees. As the Yankees wrapped up their series with the Padres yesterday, they won a 4-3 extra inning game. And I'm sure there are a lot of Yankee fans breathing a sigh of relief because they were down 3-1 in the eighth. It looked like they were going to blow another brilliant Max Fried start, but that was all put to the side by Trent Grisham. And if you're a Met fan, you remember the name Trent Grisham because he did his best Babe Ruth impression against the Mets in their 2022 playoff series against the Padres at Citi Field. Well, he's doing it again here in pinstripes with the Yankees. After a very tough year, albeit with a couple of decent moments for the Yankees last year, Trent Grisham has gone out there and in only 89 at-bats this year has hammered 10 home runs already. He's hitting .292 with 10 home runs and 20 RBIs. This guy is begging for more playoff time, more playing time, as he belts the game-tying home run in the eighth that allowed the Yankees to take this game to the extra innings in the first place. So this guy is really starting to pay off for the Yanks. And remember, he's one of the guys they got back in the Juan Soto deal. So, it sucks giving up Michael King, but at least you no longer have Soto, but at least you still have a guy that is paying off dividends from that trade in Trent Grisham. And he backed up Max Fried, Dan. Max Fried went out there, 7 innings, pitched 5 hits, 1 run, no walks, 8 Ks. This guy has just been, an absolute force for the Yankees this year. And, he looks like he's already punched his ticket to the All-Star game.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like he's punched his ticket. Probably going to be starting the All-Star game. Probably also going to be the AL Cy Young winner if he keeps this up.
So far, through May 8th, I can't argue with you. The guy's 6-0 with a 1 ERA. I mean, it's absurd.
Yeah, exactly. If you got some money to burn, you might want to bet on him to win a Cy Young. I'm personally not going to blow money like that, but if you're crazy enough to do that, might be one you might want to consider placing a bet on. I don't know how much the payout is that one is because I feel like Max Fried, even though with the contract he did, I feel like he was flying under the radar. I feel like because there was question because he had been through so many injuries and stuff. It was a question what they were going to get, and the Yankees have gotten so far more than what anyone really expected, and they've lucked out maybe so far the first year. Going to be a question of how much they're going to get from the rest of the deal, but at least year one he's living up to the expectations.
Yeah, it is a long deal. It's going to carry him late into his 30s. I think the deal expires when he's 39, so he'll be a Yankee for the foreseeable future. But definitely, the Yankees are getting bang for their buck right now, and Max Fried deserves it. Definitely the leading candidate for All-Star Game nod and Cy Young at this point, just as you said, Dan. But another guy that's really starting to get his feet back on the ground for the Yankees is Devin Williams. Now, he recently lost his closer's job with the team, but he did get his first win last night, and the Yankees put him in a stressful situation as he went out there in the 10th inning. We all know it's got the Manfred runner out there to start at second base with that garbage college rule they still have in effect. And he ended up loading the bases, but still would strike the side out and get out of there unscathed, still 3-3. Yankees would win on a walk-off sacrifice fly, and he gets his first win as a Yankee. So I think, that's a big step in the right direction for Devin Williams. If the Yankees are going to go where they want to go this year, Devin Williams has to be a shutdown closer for them.
Yeah, exactly. He has to be. The jury's still out there. I would still say I mean, Yankee fans, maybe you don't want to get excited too much. It is one game, but it is something they got to see over time. And if they're going to do anything, it's going to be all depends on if Darren Williams can get back his mojo.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And a lot of people are saying that maybe Pete Alonso took that mojo like Dr. Evil did from Austin Powers in The Spy Who Shagged Me. But, it looks like Devin Williams might be starting to get back on track a little bit. So good for him. And hopefully he gets it going until the next time he faces Pete Alonso. And then all bets are off on that one. Now, the Yankees pick up their schedule tomorrow, although they're going out west where the Mets just were. Well, actually not, the Mets were in Sacramento playing the A's the middle of last month. Now the Yankees are going to be taking their place out there. Will Warren going to the hill for the Yankees. We've talked about his early struggles here in this early part of the season, and I don't know if going to a bandbox like whatever the A stadium is, it's their minor league stadium in the PCL, and the ball just flies out of there. You all know, if you're a fan of minor league baseball at all, the ball, if you have a team in the PCL, the Pacific Coast League, the ball flies out of the park there. And, the Sacramento stadium that the A's are currently playing in is no different. So Will Warren will have to try real hard to lower that ERA tomorrow. And he's going to be going against Osvaldo Bido, 2-2 with the 4.71 ERA.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure the tickets are going to be the prices are going to be through the roof with that small capacity against a team that draws a lot of fans like that. Yeah, it looks like the cheapest I see like 74 for just a grassy berm.
Yeah, hey, we all know New York fans travel well. We all know, especially Yankees fans, there's Yankee fans everywhere. So that definitely makes a lot of sense, especially in that small capacity stadium.
Yeah, exactly. I was just curious of that about that when I saw how low the price were going to be for that, and I saw like 75 just to sit on a picnic blanket, essentially, because it's like if you've been to, I've never been, but I know people who have been to the Mets spring training stadium, and I am aware of that little area, where you bring, where you pretty much bring a blanket in that grassy spot. That's what we're contending with in that. That's what you're contending with that little seating area. For anyone who's attending that, any Yankee fans that are making a trip out to Sacramento to attend that, it's pretty much bring a blanket, and you're paying $75 to sit on a blanket. That's your ass might hurt a little bit after that. Your ass might be a bit sore from sitting on a grassy spot for 9 innings, however long the game is, 3 to 4 hours.
Just a wee bit. Now, I've been to the berm, as you mentioned, at Port St. Lucie for the Mets spring training. I've sat in that berm many times. I've probably sat in the berm more than the seats in that ballpark. But it's not as bad as you think, especially in Sacramento. It's not going to be the sun is not going to be nearly as much of a factor as it is in southern Florida. So I think it'll be a little bit more cool there. So you should have a good game experience there, no doubt about it. If you're heading out to Sacramento to catch the Yankees there. And Dan, with that, I think that's just about going to do it for us on this edition of Best Seat in the House podcast. Before we get out of here, do you have anything like to plug for yourself?
Sure, I gotta plug my Twitter account, Bobo103NYC, Instagram, Bobo718DK. I got that same username on Treads. Also, the YouTube, one word, Daniel Curlin. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our Patreon, and you get 2 weeks early access. You get 1 to 2 weeks early access to my YouTube videos. So you definitely that's definitely worth that. So you support the show and you get early access to my YouTube videos before anyone else does whenever I upload stuff on YouTube. Also, definitely also don't forget that Patreon subscribers get Trackside Minute. which I just recently uploaded. Wrapping up the action that took place over in the Texas. So you got all that stuff, and maybe you also got some other Patreon stuff. You even get access to watching this show you're watching right now, pre-taped. You get to watch it live as you subscribe to our Patreon.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
All of you who are already subscribing to our Patreon, get the word out.
That's right. So don't forget patreon.com/bestsinhousepodcast. Yes.
And don't forget, if you haven't already, hit like and subscribe. Kramer and I, we want to have one of those YouTube awards. One of those YouTube awards that you get if you get enough subscribers. We would love to have one of those awards on our shelves. Am I right?
That's right. That's right. So thank you, everybody in the community that's already liked and subscribed. If you want to drop us a like or subscribe and you think we've earned it, we very much appreciate everybody hanging out with us here and interacting with us. And even if you want, just please drop us a comment on the video too, because that helps the algorithm as well. So, and lets more people find us in the search and everything like that. So I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us here on this Thursday night. Hope everybody is liking, the last couple of weeks, but doing more of these live shows. So want to thank everybody for hanging out with us here on there. We've had a bunch of people in the comments and everything. So thank you so much. It's greatly appreciated. For my co-host, the great Daniel Bobo Curlin, I'm Rob Kramer. This is the Best Seat in the House podcast, everybody. I will catch you next week. Have a great weekend, and let's go Knicks.
Yep, exactly.